Hey everybody, Rhadamant here. Thanks for tuning in to episode 53 of Stationeers Venus, which originally aired live on Twitch. Okay, let's update that. Which means that we need to do it a different way. Where'd my... Oh, I threw it. Good job, me. Also, it looked like the battery was dead. So if we're doing it a different way, we're going to need a pipe reader. So there's two types of pipe readers. There's analog pipe readers like this one, this old pipe meter, and then there's automatic ones. And we're going to have to do it with the automatic ones. So if you take a look at the pipe analyzers here, these pipe analyzers are going to be able to read, oh, and I need electrum for that. They're going to be able to read the pressure in the in those tanks. So let's move this over. So if you take a look, let me just demo the concept here. If you take a look here at this tank, it has 4.82 MPa, as does the pipe has 4.82 MPa because they free flow between one another. So as a result of free flowing between one another, if we want to know the pressure inside the tank, all we need to do is take the pressure in a pipe connected to the tank, and then we have a concept of how pressurized that tank is. Because if we're Atmo sipping, we have to make sure not to top off these tanks too high, else kaboom. Also, so we have 0.4 millimoles of O2. That's really not very much. So let's get two of these pipe analyzers. I'm going to make one for now, but eventually I think the project is going to require two. One for each type of gas. So these pipe analyzers here have a data port, and the way it works is you plug this in. Let me just demo it for you all, because I've never used a pipe analyzer on this stream so far, I don't think. You plug it in, and it reads data from the pipe that it is connected to, like this. So now I can see, oh, in this purple, well, there's nothing in this pipe, so that's a terrible example. But it shows you pressure, shows you temperature, it will show you gas composition. It gives you all that kind of information. Oh, no, I do have a pipe meter. Hold on. I do have a digital pipe meter down here. That's right. So here's a good example. This is a digital pipe meter for my advanced furnace, and it's showing me like pollutant, carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, nitrogen, oxygen, temperature, pressure, all that data. So this volume here, this pressure here is not actually the total for the pipe and the tank. It's just that the pressures equalize. So if this portable carbon dioxide tank was removed, like if I had wrenched this off, let me save first just in case something weird happens here. But if I wrench this off, the pressure of the pipe that it's attached to won't change because they're two separate objects as far as the game's concerned. So we've wrenched this off, right? Oh, it's farting out on me. Because the nozzle, okay, this is why I saved. It's farting out on me only because the nozzle was turned up top. That's just rude. But it is the beauty of saving. Can we make the room slightly taller? No, we can't. That's just not even an achievable goal. 0% possibility of doing that. Yeah, the way this game works is that flow is achieved like instantaneously. So all things connected to the same pipe network will perfectly equalize instantly. So if you take a look here at this pipe networker is 4.81. Over here it's 4.81. If I turn this off, right, these are now two different networks. And as you can see here, they have the same pressure, right? Because this is network 1497. This is network 1496. Same pressure, whether this valve is on or off. It would eventually, the right side eventually would go down in pressure because the right side is what is feeding my, farm. That's like farm input gas. Would changing the base have a dedicated would changing the base to a dedicated Atmo be too big of a task? It wouldn't be too big of a task, but I would have to expand this room out to have like a base air, you know, tank or something, and there's currently nowhere to put it. So it's more it's sort of more a question of, is it worth completely redesigning nearly 100% of the entire base or not? We could vote on it later, sure, but it would probably be me. It would probably mean what to me what that project means is essentially having a dedicated tank-based atmospherics, and that has very little benefit for the effort. Because right now this atmospherics is fine, it's working, we don't have any issues. For a dedicated tank-based atmospherics, it would be you know, like an entire stream to just build this over again that would do the same thing it's currently doing. So pointless. Super pointless in my opinion. You're welcome to vote, but redesigning it so that it only functions as it is currently functioning now seems like the old axiom, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, you know, we'd be fixing something that isn't broken. Yeah, I mean, sure, it's cramped, and it was thrown together in the early days, so there's not a lot of expansion room, but it isn't non-functional, which is the exact reason why I would hesitate to redesign it, because if I'm redoing the atmospherics, it's essentially redoing the entire base. They're not that you know, they're not that dissimilar of tasks. So here we have a pipe analyzer now, and this pipe analyzer, this will be with the this will be like the 66th data object on the network or something like that. Yeah, 60. Okay, so this is the same network as everything else is on. Let's get another pipe analyzer to read the data on the other one. Did I get that hydrate? Oh, let's do that. Cheers, Star. Maybe a pet Yoda that I missed. I don't know. Yoda. He's like, is it in your, on your face, buddy? I think it will be easier to get this powered up top. Like that. There. So now we'll have the pressures of those tanks available to us on the data network so that we can do logic for Atmo sipping. Other things we're going to need for Atmo sipper is going to be, at the very least, because I actually haven't thought about exactly how I want to do this, but at the very least we're going to need a I think we already have atmospheric temperature over here because this sensor can read. We already have a sensor outside, so we already on this data network know the temperature of Venus, and that way we can tell whether it's cool enough outside to bother pulling in new gases. Another thing that we could think about for automatic sipping is if we so there's a few other things that we need to think about that will help to crowbar this up. So if we set these up to be parallel, not serial, it would help out a bit. Now that we have like better filters, we could do a parallel system rather than a serial system, and that will help me know from one data port whether or not the intake pipes are over pressured, because we also want to take the pressure of the intake pipes. So I'll set that up as well. Yeah, this is every project is a complicated project, right? Yeah, he perked up and then he just turned around. All right, let's make this parallel. So there's advantages and disadvantages of each type here. Parallel like this, one of the advantages is that your intake pipe gets pressurized slower. You know, it's harder to... What was that connected to? What? I'm so confused. Guess we don't need that anymore. Oh, cause the demo, right. So it gets pressurized more slowly. The disadvantage, however, is you'll have more of unwanted gases passing through your system. And the other disadvantage is that it's possible. So I guess I should go over what could happen here. So let's, as a thought experiment, let's do that real quick. I'm going to put these away. So when we pull in air from Venus, the air in Venus, let's go outside real quick just so that we know roughly what's going to happen. The air on Venus is mostly very, very, very hot carbon dioxide. It's the vast majority of it is carbon dioxide. So when we pull in air, most of the air that gets pulled in, oh, that's a network analyzer. Most of the air that gets pulled in is going to be carbon dioxide with a little bit of X and a little bit of N2. Let's cycle back in, which means that our intake pipe, that purple pipe, is almost entirely going to be full of carbon dioxide, which means our carbon dioxide, our carbon dioxide scrubbers are going to fill up early. So automatic sipping, the way I would do automatic sipping is that it's actually two different logic systems working in tandem in my mind. One system let me get some more pipes. One system turns on the active vent at night when it's cool, so that you can have gases to draw from. And the other system turns off the filters once the gases that they're filtering for are full. So there's two systems in tandem working in conjunction with one another. That's how I see it working best. I want to grab these CO2 filters. So the reason to change this over from serial to parallel is if, let's say, we had too much CO2 and we turned off the CO2 one, in the previous system, what would end up happening is the waste line from the nitrogen would eventually fill up and blow. It would explode because it would just be a bunch of CO2 that has yet to been filtered, and it would overpressurize eventually. So I want to design it so that it doesn't overpressurize, and so that it, there's two things that we don't want overpressurizing. We don't want to overpressurize our intake line, and we don't want to overpressurize the tanks themselves. Both are explosive. Now the other thing is, I also don't want to. So here's a really, really important one, which complicates this whole thing even further. Let me get some purple. I don't want for my waste tank filler to possibly jettison out to space, right? Because we have an exit. So that means that, that means a few things. That means, that I can't just have a active flow from this out to space, as I think you can understand why. So right now it's a closed loop, where any gas that comes in to get filtered stays in the loop to get filtered. It's possible that we just keep it a closed loop. It's entirely possible, because unless I introduce a gas that I haven't set up to filter for, like nitrous oxide, this pipe here, this intake pipe, can remain empty. So right now this intake pipe, why does it have CO2? Oh, because this is off. There it goes. It flushed it. So yeah, let's have it be a closed loop. Nothing will go out to space until that becomes an issue. So the insulated pipes that I had going out to space are not going to be used. All right. So the other thing I need to do, let's get rid of this pipe meter. Where does the person start? If you wanted to start, watch the first 10 or so episodes of my Mars series, and that's going to be a really a much easier start for you. I'm already, this is hour, 40 something into it, and that's why it's so complex. Right. As soon as this turns off, the parallel pipe will fill with CO2. You're right, it will. But we're going to have a pressure valve to detect that. So digital, no, meter. One of the pipe meters, analyzer. And before I forget, I'm sure that potato is now done. Let me go plant some soy. I'm going to split one off the soy and go plant the rest of the soy. So if you're wondering how to fix the CO2 issue, there really isn't a good fix. I'd have to wire up a CO2 flush, but that is a bell and whistle that I'm not going to build right now. I will not be planning for that in this iteration, because it's one of those extra things that I don't care about at this moment, because it will back up the project even further. And if we do want some sort of CO2 flush for the atmospherics, I know how I would build that. I would have to have another atmospheric filter to pull in CO2 and purposely flush it out to space. I'm just not putting that in right now. Okay, I'm killing your potato. Oh, you're gonna be cute and keep putting potatoes down. Well, I'm killing that one too. Are you out of potatoes now? And the other side, we're just gonna feed this potato right back into the system. Oh, you have more potatoes. Well, kill this potato, Harvey. If I really wanted to get rid of the potatoes... Alright, let's do this the gentle way. Without killing more potatoes. Give me those. You only had one more potato in the hopper. There. Now you have nothing to plant. Okay, good. So now the left side is ready for soy. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, Harvey Zero. Oh, is your hopper broken now? Because I broke you down? I might not have hooked that up properly. Here, let me just put it in manually this time. Okay. Well, that's definitely set back correctly. Some moles of O2. Wow, already 20 more potatoes. I'm just going to start putting them in stacks of 20. Look at how many potatoes are in the chute here, ready to be replanted. I have an infinite potato machine. Large Hadron Potato Collider. I like it. Call CERN. Let them know I one-up them. And then call Ireland and let them know that I can feed them forever. Where this? Oh, this was in my... whatever, I'll put this back. All right, so now I can sense when the pipe is too full. All right. So what then I need to do is so when we turn on this area power controllers is going to need to be destroyed, because if we're automating this process, it needs to be on the same network. So let me put away this power controller. But I'm not going to plug it in. Like, I'm not actually going to plug it in until I have the AI set up for it. So essentially what we're going to want to do is we're going to say if the temperature is under 100 C. So let's get a reader. Yeah, let's get an IO. I'm going to build this like one piece at a time. So we're going to need to read the external temp. So here's the IO. Where do we even put this logic? Maybe on the outside of the base. Oh, I need to cook a potato. On the outside of base, on the walls there, I could put it there. Yeah, I'll put it there. Because there's like no space in here. I could put it on this back wall, but I can't really work here very effectively because I'm clunking into everything. I have some wall left downstairs. Yeah, I could put it here, I suppose. It doesn't all need to be in one physical location anyway, right? Because it's all the same network. So, logic reader, there we are. Let's rename this outside temp logic reader. And this is going to read the gas analyzer that is set up outside so that we know what temperature it is. You know what? I already have, well, this is on a different network, so never mind. I don't like using my jetpack knowing that I'm adding carbon dioxide to the Atmo. But once it's breathable, I'm going to have to take my helmet off anyway, right? So, who cares? And, you know, because as soon as my helmet comes off, we're breathing anyway. So this here is going to read that, I forget what we called it, because it was a gas sensor I set up, like, ages ago. So we just have to search for it. Probably outside temperature. And read... No. That's not it. Outside temp sensor, that's it. Read the temperature. So it's 370, and this is in Kelvin, of course. So, So Kelvin is 372 or 273.15 hotter. So we want to turn it on when it's 373.15. When it's below 100, which is only below 100 for a brief period of time, but that's how we're going to automate it. So then we want to compare. So we're going to want a math unit. Process and a memory unit. Is my suit... Yeah, so my suit and helmet are damaged because of, like, game physics glitching, but you can't repair it. They're already repaired with duct tape, but it doesn't repair it to its max. You have to make a new one. Memory. So then the processor is going to compare the outside temperature to the memory, and the memory is going to be the setting to which we turn on the act event. So this will be a math compare, and this will be a memory for it. So this memory is going to be set to 373.15. And this will be Atmo sipping max temp logic memory. I know it's very verbose, but it's basically the maximum temperature at which we would consider sipping outside atmosphere. Then this is going to be the Atmo sip. I'll just call it Atmo sip rather than full sipping. Atmo sip max temp, logic compare, and we'll wire those in. God, there's gonna be logic everywhere. It's gonna be so intimidating to select a new player coming in to be like, hey, explain the base. Like, nope, can't do. Bubble Quinn, thanks for the resub. Alright, so this is easy to wire up. This is just going to be, the input here is going to be the outside temp logic reader. Outside, nope, wrong direction. Outside temp logic reader. And then this has to be less than. And then the max. So Atmo SIP, what is this? Atmo SIP max temp. Which currently is not true because it's 640 out, which is greater than 373. So this here, this logic compare only really considers the outside temperature. It does not, however, consider this purple pipe's pressure. So then we're going to need a another memory and another reader and another processor. So here's the memory. So the memory is going to be the maximum pressure at which we will consider pulling Atmo. And then the processor is going to compare that to the actual, and then the reader is going to read that that reader. And I'm going to have to label those readers too, so I know what they are. Another I/O. All right, so let's label these readers. So this is Atmo SIP mixed air pipe analyzer. Atmo SIP nitrogen pipe analyzer. And Atmo SIP carbon dioxide. Don't really need a capital O pipe analyzer. So now I know what's what. I have some sort of concept of how to read them. And this logic reader. So this logic on this wall is just for the act event that's going to be turned on. So this logic reader is going to be, what do we call it? The mixed gas. The Atmo SIP mixed air. Atmo SIP mixed air logic reader. And then we're going to have a compare. And another memory. So this one is called Atmo SIP max temp. This is going to be Atmo SIP max pressure. This is called Atmo SIP max temp. This is going to be Atmo SIP max pressure. All right. So one, the left side compares temp, the right side compares pressure. I hope that makes sense enough. And that's all, only those two data points. We're going to need another compare and another writer, but only those two data points is what that act event cares about. Is there too much gas in the intake pipe, and is the external temperature the right temperature, right? Basically, is it night, and am I going to blow things up? Now let's actually set these up. So this Atmosip mixed air logic reader wants to take from Atmosip mixed air. Atmosip mixed air pipe analyzer. So there it is. And then we're going to read its total moles up, probably, or pressure. So its pressure is 0. So Atmosip mixed air pipe analyzer pressure. Cool. That checks out because this pressure is 0. If I want this pressure to go up, let me turn off my CO2 mixer, and the pressure will go up so that we can actually see the reader here have data. So right now it has a pressure of almost 1 kPa, I'm guessing that is. Yes. So it's fractional until it's 1 kPa. So now it's 1 point something. Yeah, 1.14. So that is kPa, not MPa. So its maximum pressure is going to be like 20,000. So here on the max pressure logic memory, 1 would be 1 kPa. This is 1 MPa. This is 10 MPa. I think 10 MPa is kind of enough. What do you guys think? Or like 20 MPa? Yeah, 20 MPa is fine. That's a nicely pressured thing there. All right, so then this compare here is going to say, is this logic reader, which is the Atmosip mixed air. So let's find Atmosip mixed air logic reader. Is it less than this memory here? Oh, and I need to plug in the right side, or wire up the right side. Pipe's burst at 60, but that doesn't necessarily mean I want high pressure. So the reason being, and this has nothing to do with the portable tanks. This is something completely separate from the portable tanks. So put those portable tanks out of your mind. All I'm doing is I'm reading the pressure of this purple part. It does not matter whatsoever about anything beyond the purple. You've been using 40 to add sound to the bass. The reason I don't want it so close is I want there to be overhead. I want there to be room for me to do waste tank flushes and oxygen swaps and stuff like that. And if I go so close to its maximum tolerance, I could blow up. So I don't want to blow up. All right, so this compare unit is saying the logic reader is less than the memory. So this needs to be set to memory, which is the the Atmosip max pressure logic memory. Okay. Which should be 1, should be true. Because it's only right now 10 kPa, not 10,000 kPa. Or 20,000 kPa. I have a storm! Ha! Storm works! I could probably round that to the nearest second. But yeah, there's my storm warning. Was I only given like a minute of warning? Because obviously it works. But I do find, and what's going to happen is this alarm's going to cut out at 1 second. But I feel like the storm weather station only gave me 40 seconds of warning. Yeah, and now it's off because the storm's happening. You don't need a warning. It should just be self-evident that you've got a storm on your hands. Yeah, on Mars you get about 13 minutes. Here, legitimately, I got like 40 seconds, which was weird. All right, and then there's going to be one more compare unit. the last compare unit is going to compare these other two compare units because they both have to be true. They both have to be 1, actually. Because this could be 0. Well, no. Because this is, if this is 1. Okay, yeah, they can compare to one another. Can they? No, they can't. They have to compare to 1. So I need like a bunch more compare units. Oh, joy. All right, so let's get another memory, which will represent true. This logic memory will just be Atmo SIP 1 logic memory. It's just going to hold the value of 1. Because 1 is true. So now I need 3 compare units. 1 to compare the compare unit to 1. 1 to compare this compare unit to 1. And then a compare unit to compare those 2 compare units to each other. Yeah, sort of like an AND gate. Oh, there is an AND? What is it? One of the processors? All right, storm's over. That was a short storm. Nope, not one of these. I'm going to go outside and turn off that act event so that I can plug it in finally. Also, why do I have glass on me? Forgot to take the glass off. Alright, so this is act event that I'm gonna also need to rename, because this is gonna be Atmo SIP act event. And then turn it off. Yeah, if you're not sure what logic chip acts as a AND, I'll just use the compares. Because with enough compares, you can have it act as an AND. But, let's plug in that act event now so we can find it on the network. But it won't actually be pulling anything in. As you can see, we're still fine. One other curious thing is, has my millimoles of oxygen changed? Yeah, we have 70 kPa of oxygen. We have 23 moles of oxygen sipped from our farm. I haven't actually, well, no, I flushed my waste tank. Never mind. I'm sure it came from the waste tank instead. Oops. Well, we have a lot of IOs for later. All right, let's try the logic select. Just use my jetpack. Might run out of cables, so if that's the case, let me get rid of this. I can always put this in later, or use this mem chip later. Alright, so here's a select unit. Whoa, don't slip. Alright, I actually don't even know how these select units work, so let's see. I'm sure I'll be disappointed here. So... where is mode? Oh dear. I have to write to them. Okay, this isn't being helpful. A selects. I don't know what you mean by A. I'm gonna go back to you. Well, here, let's do logic select. So I think what I need to do is to put the mem back in, was what you're saying, comparing all three to one another. Let me put that back in. One. I'm gonna need let's look at the select. It's a floating point comparison. Oh, here's the select units. Okay, so here is the select. Let me look it on the wiki, because Vorg, your descriptions they're not descriptive enough for me to know exactly what you're talking about. The top is the selector unit. Use the screwdriver to select what input is used to flip the selection. This should usually be a unit that outputs true or false, such as a logic and pair. The bottom left is input 1 selector. Use the screwdriver to select what value to use when the selector inputs when the selector input value is 0. And bottom right is the input 2 selector. Use a screwdriver to select what value to use when the input 1 value is true. This actually doesn't do what I needed to do, Vorg. I can't compare two. I can't check on. According to the wiki, I can't check if both of these compare units are true on one selector or even on 2 selectors. So it cuts out maybe 1 compare unit, but like that's not much of a shortcut. All right, so let's, if what you're saying is, what should the top tile be? This should usually be the first logic compare. So you're saying this top one should be the Atmo SIP temp max. All right, let me actually just pick these out. Atmo SIP. All right, I'm just building it how I want to build it, because the information you're providing is just not enough for me to actually be actionable. So I'm just going to do it the way I wanted to do it in the first place. All right, so additional compare units. Because I haven't used the selector, and I'm not going to mess around with that right now. So we have all these IOs, which is unfortunate because I don't actually need them. What I need is process. Hey, Karvik. I should also check on the Venus for check on the plants to see if it's yielded. All right, so we're just going to compare one to Atmo SIP, and then compare one to here. Let me well, no, this is fine. Compare one to Atmo SIP. I just can't connect these two, but of course I could nudge this cable over if I needed more real estate. I'm gonna need more cables. And it looks like, no, I have a bunch of copper in this. So I have a decent amount of copper. How's my water's down. Very down. Staring at that, I realize now that that's been sitting there for like time immemorial, I don't actually need it, as I don't have a feed from a furnace up top anymore. So I can clean it up. I could even clean up that pipe, but that's not important enough, I don't think. All right, there we are. So, this will be max temp compare true or whatever. So, Atmo SIP, max temp true logic compare, Atmo SIP, max pressure true logic compare, and then Atmo SIP like pass, I guess I'll call it. And then we're just going to, given that information, we can write to the, right here actually, we can write to the what's it called? The act event that's up there, given all the information that we have here. So then we just wire this all up. So this will be a 3-corner. Yep, there it is. Posture check. You got it. All right, so this thing is input 1 is going to be, let's just have it, input 1 on both these compare units is just going to be the 1 mems. So 1 and a 1 mems. So input 1 is always the number 1, and then equals will be the second ones, and then the last one will be the compare units. So this will be the Atmo SIP max temp logic compare. So then all this is doing is validating that both of these are true compared to 1, like they are, because if we compared them only to each other, they would be true in 2 states. If they're both false or they're both true, they would pass as true. So now I'm setting it up that they have to both be true instead. So this is 1 equals, and then this will be the max pressure, because this was max temp logic compare. This will be the max pressure logic compare, which that should be true. And we know, what's on my labeler? We know that that should be true because there is not pressure, which means that the pressure is good, but the outside temperature is bad. I suppose you could have added them and compared them to 2. That'd be another way to do it. Or if I had, because I mean, obviously this is a project proposed on me and I hadn't used the select units, but it reminds me of like a programming NAND. Like given NAND, you can do all logic. Okay, I need to stop falling off these batteries. And then this compare unit will just compare both of the other last 2 compare units, the true logic and the other true logic, to one another. And if they're both true, right. If they're not both true, then don't. So all right, so max pressure is equal to max temp, which should be false because the outside is too hot. And then this will take the pass logic compare, the Atmo SIP pass logic compare. Atmo SIP pass logic compare and output to the Atmo SIP vent that's somewhere on this network. Atmo SIP active vent, whether it's on or off. It's on setting. All right. So now the intake is set up. And you can see that it is not pulling air right now into here. What I'm going to do is manually turn off my nitrogen and carbon dioxide filters, because without additional logic to control whether the filtration unit should be turned off or not based upon the pressure of those tanks, these tanks would blow themselves up. But as soon as we drop below 100 C, which I'm just going to wait here for a minute. As soon as we drop below 100 C, you should see that this pipe start to fill up, and not fill up like this. Actually, fill up with a variety of outside gas. So you're going to see 7% nitrogen and trace X in it. As a result of the active vent up top turning on. It takes a while for outside temp to hit the 100 mark though. That's like late in the evening. But it minimizes the amount of cooling that we have to do in the base, and I can always change that temperature if I wanted to. So let's set it to 107, shall we? Why not? So 107 C to K would be 380.15. So let's set this memory to 380.15. And then this logic writer is writing a 1, which means our act event is polling, which means, voila, we have automatic Atmo sipping. What if both logic units are showing false? We are comparing them to true. So they can't be showing false because we compare them to true. So basically the way this works, and it's unnecessarily complicated because I'm only using compare units because I haven't messed around with selects. But these compare units down here, what they're saying is true equal to the compare unit? And is true equal to the other compare unit? So if their reading is false, they won't trigger. And what you'll end up seeing here is that I'll pull in 20,000 kPa or 220 MPa of air, and then they'll shut off. Oh yeah, if I guess what I'll do is I'll compare to 2, or I'll add them or something. That's a good point. Because they could both be false, even then. Here, let's cut the vent, which is, let's get the crowbar. So there's multiple ways to skin a cat, as chat says, and in this instance, it's going to be better for, oh, that wasn't the, no, to cut the active vent, I actually have to go outside, I think. Actually have to, like, well, let's do it like this. Logic writer's off. Yeah, we should add to 2 to make sure they're both 1s. Out we go, and I'll set it up that way. Thank you for tuning in to Stationeers Venus, which originally aired live on Twitch. This series is now over, but there's still about 10 hours yet to air. With that in mind, if you have feedback for me, let me know in the comments below. If you would like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers. Thank you so very much for watching. I'll catch you next episode, or maybe a stream. Farewell, everybody.